to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Blue Forgotten Planet, written by Nicholas Briggs, and is also directed by him. This would be the conclusion to the Mina trilogy, and is also the last regular appearance of India Fisher as Charlie Pollard in the monthly range, and by extension her final appearance with the sixth incarnation of the Doctor. And after the pretty lukewarm paper cuts and the incredible Prisoner Zero, this story, I think, going into this could go either way. I was petrified because it could have gone absolutely terrible and bland and boring like paper cuts. But a part of me, because it was written by Nicholas Briggs, really hoped that we got a story that is equal or to par with Prisoner Zero. And though I don't think it's as good as Prisoner Zero, this is luckily a fantastic story and is a well-deserved ending to the entire series. And I am not afraid to admit that I did tear up. Charlie, why did you have to leave? Oh well. I don't really think much behind the scenes. I mean, I've talked about everything I want to. I think, from what I can gather, this is a very popular story in the fandom. Every time I hear it, this is one of those highly rated stories. It's not the most beloved of the Charlie era, but that could be due to a lot of factors. One being that she's been in such great stories like Patient Zero and a few Eighth Doctor adventures like The Chimes of Midnight Scherzo, and again, I can't remember what it's called. Memory Lane, that's the one. A Memory Lane. But also as well, the Sixth Doctor, her era with the Sixth Doctor was kind of hindered on the fact that the Condemned really didn't show them much and really had people struggling to get into the Sixth Doctor and Charlie arc. So it's not as popular as the Eighth Doctor stuff, which I think is a crying shame. Though again, I've not seen those stories so for all I could tell, all these stories can look absolutely terrible by comparison. I don't know. But either way, for the few people who have listened to this story, it seems to be a very popular one in terms of people's genuine opinion on it. It seems like a lot of people who've listened to it really do like it and find it a great conclusion to Charlie Pollard's era as the Doctor's companion. Now, as always, we got the official Big Finish CD cover right there, in this really lovely purple cover. I want to show you something else as well, because I think this is really cool. Usually these booklets have artwork inside them, and usually they're all loads of them are really good. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. My brain just went. But this one, I think, really shows the stiffness of the story. That is gorgeous. That basically sums up the story right there. Epic, almost like a sci-fi drama. What's it called? A sci-fi opera in the veins of Star Wars and Flash. Well, I wouldn't say Flash Gordon, but you get my gist. It's a very action-packed adventure. And like always, after that, I print out my own DVD cover. This one isn't my best work. I did kind of, as you can see, comparison. I did take the original cover and try to extend it a bit, but I couldn't get the colours to match. This has come out a little bit more blue. I don't think it really matters. That's the front of it. Yeah, the Viren's head is kind of getting blocked by the words. Maybe that's all maybe that's all the Doctor had to do, is just get the title in the way. So that's the cover, and that is the spine, if anyone is interested. That's very nice, isn't it? Yes. And, like always, the back, showing the Doctor with the two Charlies. Oh my god, they should have called this story The Two Charlies. Big Finish, you just had a massive missed opportunity there. Idiots, absolute idiots. Why the two Edwardian adventurers, I don't know, they completely missed. God damn it, Big Finish. That's really annoyed me now, that they completely missed that opportunity. So the story actually starts off with a flashback, as well, actually a flash forward, I should say. And the Doctor is on this planet of known for its partying, and this character comes up to him. He's like, "I can see that you're sad." He's like, "Oh no, I'm not sad. I'm just remembering, as somebody has recently just left me, and it's really." And I'm just suffering emotional, and I've been here before, and this place reminds me of her. And so, and then that leads into the main bit of the story, as we see the Doctor and Mina taking the appearance of Charlie. If you want an explanation of that, go watch my video on Prisoner Zero, because that story really needs more attention. Prisoner Zero, just go listen. Forget about this video, just completely turn this off, go to the Big Finish website, pick up maybe the Condemned, because you need the Condemned to understand any of it. Then go listen to Prisoner Zero, and yeah, I'll just constantly praise. I'll just end the story video, there you go. Prisoner Zero, go watch it, there you go, no. So yeah, so Mina is disguised as Charlie, and the Doctor doesn't really know about it. It's also explained that they've had quite a few adventures. Later on in the story, it's even explained that Mina has actually had more adventures than the original Charlie with the Sixth Doctor. So there's a massive gap between paper cuts and this adventure. And the Doctor and Mina have just arrived. Just come back from the TARDIS from that party planet, and then the Doctor basically states, "Right, it's time for us to go to Earth to find out your backstory, to learn who you are." And we go on to what the Doctor believes is Earth, because we think he doesn't know. He arrives on this planet, and it doesn't look like Earth. It doesn't feel like Earth. It doesn't feel quite right. And it's around here that we get introduced to these side characters. And my God, this story has some great side characters. Nicholas Briggs is known for two types of storytelling. He either makes a complicated plot with simple characters, or he makes a simple plot with complex characters. And I think a lot of people agree that his best work comes from that second one, the one where he focuses on complex characters than he does plot. And this is a very simple plot when you think about it, but the characters that get involved in this adventure are very complex. Basically what's happening is that the Virons have been sending medicine down to this planet for a virus that makes people, they basically found a cure for madness, they stated, but this medicine needs to constantly be taken. And at one point in our Earth's future, and at this point in the story it's past, that the humans suffered this disease, what they call the madness. And what it does is that it makes you forget things, and it makes you completely full of fear and terror. With the memory stuff, it gets so bad that nobody can remember life prior to the virus, despite the virus only being a few years old. And they also, nobody remembers the year that they're in. When the doctor asks them, what year are we in? We don't know. Nobody knows. That's pretty messed up. But anyway, we get to meet a few characters. We have a small colony ship, a small little colony, led by this guy who basically asks people to send photos for them. Basically what he's doing is he's making a documentary for the Virons, because he believes that they need more funding to send more medical. And so what he's doing is he's making a documentary showing the virus and disease, and he sends them to the Virons, and in return they send him the medical units. But his second in command is this woman who is on his side for the moment, but she's been secretly stealing some of the virus and been giving them out to a group of people who basically she's been stealing them for another group of people who haven't been given access to this virus, because their leader is an ex-husband, and originally she wasn't working with them. Because it's an ex-husband, but after the death of her daughter, she decided to work with him rather than against him. And each of these characters are full of life, despite they being in a very bleak situation. And you really connect with them. Mainly the connection comes from the doctor. This is another time in which the doctor and Charlie are split for the majority of the story. But here, again, it makes a lot more sense here because of what will happen. Back on the Viron ship, we hear a containment unit, a frozen capsule, deactivate as somebody steps out and a familiar voice speaks out. You told me you'd only wake me up when you found the doctor. The original Charlie has returned. Now, I originally believed that she, in her invisible state, went inside the TARDIS and waited for the doctor in a similar way that Mina did during her time when she was invisible. But that's not the case. What's happened here is that she was taken by the Virons who could have seen her, and they basically have been slowly curing her as she gets frozen and wakes up and helps them on small little missions. So basically, from her point of view, Patient Zero has taken place thousands of years in her past, although she only remembers a few of the days because she was hibernating in a frozen chamber for most of the millennia, helping them. And it got to a point when she states to them that only wake her up when the doctor is being stated. However, the Virons point out that they didn't wake her up because of the doctor. They woke her up because an exact duplicate of her is on Earth somewhere. And in fact, the cliffhanger is after the doctor gets separated from the Mina Charlie, the doctor gets captured by the rebels, and Mina gets captured by the group that has the medical that the Virons are given the medical unit, and they try interviewing her to start, and they you don't know who I am, then you must be one of the resistance, and blah de blah de blah. However, a Viron ship comes down, and it's the Virons in this story. I mean, like Prisoner Zero, they get built up a lot, and it's just so goddamn. It works so well. We rarely see a Viron during this adventure. They appear in small segments throughout the story. But they've always been treated as this unstoppable force that might be good or might be evil. But if they are evil, if they are bad, if there's a chance, if there's a small chance that they are doing harm to humanity, nobody's going to stop them. And like that kind of anxiety lies throughout the story, as we're constantly hearing from characters about how none of them except for one of them has seen the Viren, and that one character seen him like millennia ago, years ago, when they came down with the cure, and just the build up of the Virens. But the Viren ship comes down, and the cliffhanger has all these characters being confused as Charlie walks up to them, and it goes, "Hello, Mina, where's the doctor?" So yeah, that's part one, and this story is just why does this so? It is really good. So then the story kind of splits for a bit as Charlie takes Mina onto the Viren ship, and they go up into space, and they confront each other, and as well they take one of the humans as a specimen. They freeze the other Charlie, the Mina, so that the real Charlie gets to talk to this character, and she basically explains that what's been happening, that she's been frozen, and that she only comes out on rare occasions where the Virens need her help. So she's basically like an agent for the Virens, and she basically slowly throughout part two, she explains that the Virens aren't trying to cure the humans. Well, they are in a way, but not in the way, they're not as kind and as loving as these human characters, the ones that have been getting these medical equipment, believes them to be, because this guy, the guy who makes these documentaries, basically believes that they are these genuinely nice creatures who want to help them. But Charlie explains about this virus thing that exploded and sent all these viruses across space and time, and that one of these viruses landed on planet Earth, and that basically what's been happening is that we originally believed that the madness is this virus that they're on about. However, that's not the case. That was actually the Viren's attempt at a cure. However, the side effect is that madness takes effect. And what's worse, the cure doesn't work. They still have this very deadly, potentially deadly virus. And so the Doctor then teams up with the rest of the remaining unit down below, as they captured the Doctor and the leader of the rebels, who basically states that him being captured will start an absolute frenzy, as his people haven't got this medical equipment yet, so they're basically full of fear and terror, and their leader has been taken. So they're just going to berserker their way in, and there's going to be a massive bloodbath. And what I think really works in this story, I mean, there's great character stuff in here, but that does kind of take sideline to, I think, is the main objective of this story. It's action-packed as hell. There's a lot of action scenes, and the sound scope by this Big Finish are absolutely amazing when it comes to sound scope. And when I listen to this battle, it reminds me a lot in terms of the sounds and how I imagine it is like that scene at the start of The Force Awakens. You know the scene I'm on about when Kylo Ren goes onto that desert, and when Rey is not Rey, what's his name? Finn is a stormtrooper and he's fighting away, but he can't. You know that scene. It reminds me a lot in terms of the atmosphere and the tension of that scene. So the Doctor basically tries to organise a meeting with the Virons as he gets in communicated with them on a screen. And the Virons basically explain that because the virus, because their cure for this virus failed, they're going to nuke Earth, wiping any trace of these humans that might be carrying this virus. At this point, I believe it's explained that every human, except for Charlie, the two Charlies, have the virus. And so the Doctor, in a rush, takes the two characters that the two main characters that we've grown to like on the Earth, the woman and the basically the leader, into his TARDIS as he tries to block the transmission between the Virons and the nuke, which is actually one of our cliffhangers, and it works extremely well in terms of it being a cliffhanger. It might be one of those ones where right after the episode starts in the next episode, it quickly gets resolved in a way, but it still plays a part in the story, and just overall tension works extremely well. It's also on the communications to the Viron state that there are two Charlies. The Doctor's like, do you have Charlie? It's like, yes, we have both of them. What do you mean you have both of them? And so the Doctor takes the TARDIS to the Viron ship, to which he asks, he basically states that he can help if only if he can see both of the Charlies, to see what the hell they're on about. And so they start organising, releasing the last three people that were frozen, being the two Charlies and the guy that was making the documentary. And it's also here where the Doctor learns that the Virons aren't particularly the innocent ones in this, and that this virus and stuff. But what really is disturbing about the Virons is they explain basically about this virus. There's only one cell that lives inside each and every human, and it leaves, and it's very dormant. This gene, this virus that's been spreading all through Earth, and they state that in trillions and trillions and trillions of years, there is a 1 in 1,000 chance that this virus could activate and kill everyone. Or at least I think they state it might just get a cold or something minor like that. And they are willing to execute the entire human population just to hide the fact that this virus is out there. And they really feel like an unstoppable force. And we also learned that the documentary was just to, wasn't to fund anything, it was just them experiencing, at least learning as much as they can about the virus and the side effects. I also really like how the Virons try to be polite. They say thank you when the documentary maker shows them the images he has of the humans. The Virons like, yes, this pleases me, thank you. This is very helpful. Which kind of gives them this really creepy, ominous edge to the Virons. This story makes me really appreciate the Virons. I really, in this story and Prisoner Zero, they might be one of my favourite Big Finish exclusive villains. But this is the bit that we've all been waiting for, as the Doctor gets confronted with not one, but two Charlies. And one of them is basically like, Doctor, you know me, my history is that I was captured by the Daleks and then you rescued me, blah, 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 blah. And the Doctor then confronts the other Charlie, and she really is hesitant on revealing any of her identity, and she slowly starts revealing, and she's hesitant, but she knows that she's got to, otherwise the Doctor will will believe the other, believe Mina. And so she starts off by saying, I know you from the future, a future incarnation of you. But however, gets interrupted and anarchy ensues as there's a lot of action and danger and expense. Now let's talk about India Fisher for a moment. She's done a fantastic job at playing both Mina, this character who's manipulating people into believing that she is Charlie, and she does act a lot like Charlie, but it's little tweaks in her performance. Like, Charlie likes the Doctor. She even states that in his 8th incarnation, she loved him. But Mina, she's obsessed with him. If the Doctor goes anywhere, she must follow. If the Doctor tells her to get away, she completely refuses. If there's any harm considering to the Doctor, she will fight him to get him to safety. To the point where it kind of threatens everyone else. And she even states it's like she wants the other Charlie dead, and she is a completely dangerous force in a way. But she's still like a companion. What I really like about this story is that you think, right, the two Charlies are going to meet each other, and Mina is going to be revealed to be this big bad villain. But it doesn't play out like that. In fact, the story kind of empathizes with Mina, as when there's scenes when it's just the two of them talking, Charlie kind of starts feeling guilty in the way, as Mina was, she's basically become an attention seeker, and kind of fair enough, because she was spent hundreds of years of her life being an invisible entity. Someone who nobody can see nor hear. How mad for attention must you be after that? No wonder she wants to steal Charlie's body. In fact, when Mina, even when it's just them two, the scenes where they seem to be getting along and they seem to be seeing eye to eye, but suddenly it takes a turn as Charlie calls her Mina, and she goes mental about that. She hates that. She is Charlie in her eyes. And what really works is that at one point the Doctor gets into his TARDIS with the two Charlies and worrying. Oh wait, we need to backtrack because I've completely forgotten about a certain element. After a little danger with the TARDIS, the leader of the rebels was killed, and that the woman survived. And the Virons, they scanned the TARDIS and found out that the people inside the TARDIS, the girl, the second in command of the leading force, she doesn't have the virus anymore. She's cured. And the Doctor kind of works out that time travel is the cure. There's Artron energy is the cure. So he plans to take the TARDIS onto Earth and basically send it back in time, just a little bit, curing everybody. And the Virons actually let the Doctor do this. They're this unstoppable, powerful force. But they're not unreasonable. If there's a cure, they will allow cure to happen, but they state if the doctor fails, they will nuke Earth. That's pretty. Again, this is a virus which has a 1 in a trillionth chance in a span of 1 trillion years that this virus might become deadly. And so when the Doctor gets into his TARDIS, the two Charlies get in, and the Doctor tries to talk to him, tries to reason him at first, but then he decides that they're both good characters, they're both good Charlies, and he doesn't want to see him hurt. So he wants them to leave the TARDIS and try and doing this magnificent thing of transporting an entire planet seconds in its past, but also basically replacing the original timeline by a few seconds, curing everybody. And with Resistance, they both decide to leave. And we get a really sweet moment where Mina is like, she originally like starts off the conversation. It's like, I wished you were dead. I wanted to be you. I was fascinated with you, and I can now be with the Doctor and get all this lovely attention by him. But now you've come along and ruined it. But they start warming to each other. They start learning to each other, and Charlie explains to Mina about her backstory, about her Doctor, and that she's seen the Doctor die, and that the Doctor saved her from a fixed point where she was supposed to die. And slowly after, in a very powerful scene, they start warming to each other to the point where Mina is actually glad that Charlie survived everything. And we also get a scene where Charlie basically accepts her as another Charlie. It kind of reminds me of Osgood from the new series in that sense. And so basically they both now identify as Charlie, and they both accept each other. So they run into the TARDIS, and the Doctor basically is like, it's not going to work. We need to touch another button, but the console has become deadly. And then suddenly one of the Charlies start playing with the controls, and she screams in pain. The next scene we have is the Doctor talking to a girl outside of his TARDIS. Is basically like, do you really want to go? And then Mina talks in her original voice. In the original voice that we heard at the start of Prisoner Zero. And she's stating, it's like, yes, I've loved my adventures with you. However, I feel like I have kind of become dependent on you. Any problem I've had, you will always come there and save me. I kind of need to become my own person. And so the Doctor gets into his TARDIS and leaves. But it turns out that's actually a virtual simulation, as the Virans plan to alter the Doctor's memory. And they've offered this, and it's like, one of them states, it's like, are you sure this is the memory that you want to give him, Charlie? And the Doctor's like, and Charlie's like, yes, but please, let me see him just one more time. And they're really hesitant, but they allow her to go. And then we get the scene, the goodbye scene. And I will admit, I did kind of, get emotional. Charlie basically explains that that they were both Charlie, and that but she was the one who came from the Doctor's future, and she basically explains that this basically the Virans can also like manipulate and create viruses, and they've manipulated a particular virus which allows them to alter people's memories. But with more stronger willed people, they got to keep doing it, and it's a very painful procedure. And so she's come here to try and reason with the Doctor to try and not to resist. And the Doctor is like, no, please, I can escape. What's your plan, Charlie? Are we going to escape? And then she kind of sits down beside him and tells him about her past. She explains that she travelled with the Doctor. She fell in love with the Doctor. And just before she met the sixth incarnation, she saw his future incarnation die. And the Doctor is originally like, you don't have to change my memory. I know now. I can't change time. I will meet the future Charlie, and I will die, and I will accept that. And Charlie's like, no, you didn't remember me. And they kind of debate until Charlie puts his foot down and is like, okay, Doctor, I won't do it if only you tell me this. If you were in my position and you knew the dangers of the fabric of time, and that you know of a way to keep this person alive, but you have to alter their memories, could you then not do it? And Colin Baker just goes, very well, go do it. And she tears up as she gives him the virus, altering his memories. We then cut back to the scene at the very start of the story, just after going back to this party planet, and he states that he will never forget this girl with brunette hair and glowing green eyes. He will never forget Mina. So basically, the Sixth Doctor's memory's been alternated so that he doesn't remember Charlie, he remembers Mina in her place. And so the story ends with Charlie getting accepted by the Virons to let her travel with them for a bit longer, helping them throughout the galaxy onto finding and hopefully finding cures for all these different viruses. Wow. And that's Blue Forgotten Planet. Overall, it is a very well-written story. Sometimes it's a bit more action-packed than anything character-driven or plot-driven. But this story has a really great scope. I forgot to mention the music. I wonder if don't think it says the composer on the back of this. It doesn't look like it. But the music really gives this story a cinematic feel. You could just close your eyes and imagine you're in a cinema watching this gigantic adventure take place. Might not feel like it came out from the 1980s, but you do feel like you're going to watch this on a big screen. All the character beats are very well. The side characters are really nice and likeable characters. Mina's redemption arc and Charlie's sorrows as she has to basically confront the fact that she is this poison in the timeline and that she's kind of messing things up just to be a bit selfish, and she has to confront that, and she's basically got to say, right, that's it, I've got to fix the timeline and stop being a hindrance. And she gets very great stuff. And not to mention the Virons being a very great villains who are really amoral, but their demeanour and the fact that if something doesn't go their way, they will annihilate them. Just overall, it's a great story. It's not the best story. It's sort of like top 10 out of 10. That could easily go to Prisoner Zero. I keep praising Prisoner Zero. Just go listen to Prisoner Zero. But this is a good one too. I highly recommend this one. But listen to Prisoner Zero first, then go on to this one. You don't really need paper cut, with the exception of the start of it, which concludes the ending of Prisoner Zero. And there you go. That is Blue Forgotten Planet and the end of the Charlie story arc. So join me next time when the Sixth Doctor gets reintroduced to an old companion, an old friend of his, as well as meet a young little lad, Sontarans, and the greatest villain to ever scrape the scenes of the BBC. So join me next time for The Fix with the Sontarans. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!